They changed the locks while I was at work. And I only knew because my key, my familiar, scraped-up brass key, went in halfway, then stopped like it hit bone. For a second, I just stood there on the porch, still wearing my navy scrubs under a puffer jacket, the cold of late November in Tacoma crawling up my ankles. My lunch bag swung from one hand. My other hand held the key like it had betrayed me. I tried again. Slow. Careful. Twist. Nothing. The porch light that usually flickered when the wind pushed it didn't flicker. It was new. Bright. Clean. I looked at the doormat. The little one that said home, with the last O worn thin from 1,000 shoes. It was gone. In its place was a thick black mat that looked like it belonged outside a law office. That was when my throat tightened. Okay, I whispered to myself, like saying it out loud could keep me from panicking. Okay, Nora, maybe the lock jammed. I knocked. Not hard, not yet, just 3 taps. Then I heard movement on the other side, and my stomach dropped before the door even opened, because I recognized the rhythm of those steps. A slow, confident shuffle. A person who already believed they belonged. The door swung inward, and there she was. Marilyn Shaw, my ex-husband's mother. Hair sprayed into that rigid helmet shape. Lipstick the color of dried cherries. A cardigan buttoned all the way up to the throat, like modesty was a weapon. Behind her, the hallway lights were on. My hallway lights. The ones I paid for. The ones I'd installed after the divorce, because I didn't want shadows to surprise me anymore. And right there on the coat rack hung a man's jacket I didn't recognize. Marilyn's eyes swept over me, over my scrubs, over my tired face, like she was inspecting a stranger who'd wandered into the wrong house. Oh, she said, smiling like a knife. You're home early. My voice came out thin. Marilyn, why can't I get in? She leaned her shoulder against the door frame, my door frame, blocking the entrance with casual cruelty. Because, she said, this isn't your home anymore. For a moment, my brain refused to understand. It was like hearing a sentence in a language you used to know, but forgot. What are you talking about? I managed. The divorce agreement. She held up her hand, palm out, like she was stopping traffic. Don't start. Don't make this ugly. My breath stuttered. Make this ugly? You changed my locks. From somewhere inside, a television turned on, loud, a football game, men shouting, cheering. My ears started ringing. Where's Caleb? I asked. Where is he? Marilyn's smile widened just a little. Caleb is busy, handling grown-up things. You know, paperwork, ownership, the stuff you never understood. My fingers tightened around the lunch bag until the plastic handle bit into my skin. I pay the mortgage. I pay the utilities. My name is on... She laughed, actually laughed. Sweetheart, your name is on whatever Caleb allowed your name to be on. My heart slammed once, hard, against my ribs. I stepped forward, trying to slip past her. Marilyn shifted, blocking me fully now, shoulders squared. You're not going in, she said, voice suddenly flat. Not without permission. Permission? I echoed, disbelief turning hot. This is my house. Her eyes flicked over my shoulder, toward my car in the driveway, as if calculating whether I could cause a scene loud enough for neighbors to notice. Not anymore, she repeated. And you need to collect your things at a later date, when we schedule it, with someone present. A chill ran straight down my spine, not from the weather, from the calm certainty in her tone. I swallowed. My son's things are in there. Marilyn blinked slowly. Your son is with his father. My knees went weak for a second. What? They picked him up from school, she said, like she was telling me the time of day. It's Caleb's custody week. My mouth opened, but no sound came out, because she was right. The custody order said Caleb had him from Monday after school until Thursday morning every other week. This was Caleb's week, and I had been at the hospital for a double shift. 12 hours in a fluorescent box, saving strangers, thinking my home was safe because a court stamp said it was. My vision blurred. You can't, I choked. You can't lock me out. That's illegal. Marilyn's expression stayed calm, and that was what scared me most. Oh, we're very legal, she said softly. Caleb learned a lot from losing to you in court. He won't make the same mistake twice. Behind her, that unfamiliar jacket moved. A shadow crossed the hallway. And then Caleb stepped into view. My ex-husband, 36. Still handsome in that polished way, like he'd never had to carry something heavy in his life. His hair was trimmed, his beard shaped, his eyes sharp with that same old confidence he used to wear when he lied to my face. He had my son's backpack slung over one shoulder, the backpack I bought, the blue one with the dinosaur patches. My chest clenched so hard it felt like my heart was folding. Nora, Caleb said, as if he hadn't just turned my front door into a wall. I stared at him. What did you do? He sighed like I was exhausting him, like I was the problem. We're just making adjustments, he said. Adjustments? My voice cracked. You changed the locks. You brought your mother here. You took my kid. What is wrong with you? Caleb stepped forward until he was beside Marilyn. They stood shoulder to shoulder, a perfect little fortress. Nora, he said again, lowering his voice like he was calming a patient. You don't own this house. The words hit me like a slap. I blinked. Yes, I do. He shook his head slowly. No, you don't. You never did. My stomach twisted. The settlement? The settlement, he interrupted, gave you the right to live here temporarily. That's it. That is not what the judge... Caleb's eyes hardened. Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. Marilyn made a small, satisfied sound, like a cat purring. I could feel my hands shaking now, not from fear, from rage. You can't just rewrite reality because you feel like it, I said. Caleb lifted his phone and tapped the screen. Reality, he said, is paperwork. He turned the phone so I could see. A document, a deed, my address at the top, and beneath it, a signature. My signature. Only it wasn't mine. It looked like mine in the way a cheap copy looks like the original if you don't stare too long. My mouth went dry. That's fake. Caleb's expression didn't change. It's filed. I felt the porch tilt under my feet. You forged my name, I whispered. He shrugged. You signed a lot of things during the marriage. You didn't even read half of them. The cold inside me sharpened into something clear, because I remembered. After the divorce, there had been a weekend when Caleb showed up with a stack of papers and that fake remorse voice. Just finalize a few things, he'd said. It'll make everything smoother for Ethan. And I'd been exhausted, newly single, working extra shifts, trying to keep my son from hearing me cry in the shower. I had signed, not everything, but enough that guilt and fear could blur the line. My throat tightened. What did you make me sign? Caleb's smile was small. Just what you needed to sign. Marilyn leaned forward, voice a silky hiss. You should have had a lawyer, dear. I stared at them, and in that moment, something inside me went quiet. Not calm, not peaceful. Quiet like a room right before a storm takes the roof. I looked past them into my house. My living room, I saw my framed photo on the wall, me and Ethan at Point Defiance Park, his cheeks smeared with ice cream. Except now the frame was tilted, as if someone had bumped it without care. My hands curled into fists. "I'm calling the police," I said. Caleb didn't flinch. "Go ahead." Marilyn's smile returned. "We already did, just in case you tried anything dramatic." My heartbeat thudded in my ears. They planned this. They didn't just change locks. They built a trap. I pulled my phone out with shaking fingers and dialed 911 anyway, because even if they were lying, I needed a record. I needed timestamps. I needed someone official to hear my voice. The dispatcher answered, and I forced my words out, steady and clear. "I'm locked out of my home," I said. "My ex-husband changed the locks and is refusing entry. My belongings are inside. I have concerns about forged documents." Caleb's smile faded slightly at the word forged. Marilyn's eyes narrowed. The dispatcher asked for my address. I gave it. And then I heard it from inside. A child's laugh. Ethan's laugh. My knees almost buckled from relief and terror at the same time. Because if he was in there, he had been watching this, hearing this, feeling my fear through the walls. I raised my voice, not angry, not screaming, just loud enough to carry. "Ethan," I called. "Baby, it's Mom. I'm right here. You're okay." Caleb snapped. "Don't." Marilyn hissed. "Don't involve him." I ignored them, because that's what they always did. They wanted me small, quiet, convenient. I looked Caleb dead in the eye. "I'm not leaving," I said. He stepped forward, jaw tightening. "You have no choice." "Oh," I said softly. "I always have a choice." And I realized something then. They thought they'd won because they had a door. They had locks. They had paper. But I had something they underestimated every time. I had patience. I had proof. And I had nothing left to lose by finally fighting like someone who planned to win. The patrol car arrived 10 minutes later, lights flashing across my neighbor's siding. Officer Ramirez stepped out. Mid-40s, calm face, watchful eyes. He looked at me, then at Caleb, then at Marilyn, and you could see him assembling the story without anyone even speaking. "What's going on?" he asked. Caleb stepped forward first, confident. "This is a civil matter," he said quickly. "She's trespassing. We've asked her to leave." Officer Ramirez glanced at me. "Ma'am?" I held my hands out, palms visible, forcing myself to breathe. "My name is Nora Hayes," I said. "This is my legal residence. I've lived here continuously. My ex-husband changed the locks while I was at work and is refusing to allow entry. He's showing a deed with my signature that I believe is forged." Officer Ramirez's gaze sharpened at forged. Caleb's smile returned, but weaker now. "She's emotional. We have paperwork." Marilyn added, "We're just trying to avoid a scene." Officer Ramirez held up a hand. "All right. I'm going to ask both of you to step back while I talk to Miss Hayes." Caleb hesitated, then stepped back, just enough to not look guilty. I spoke low and fast to the officer, telling him about the divorce settlement, about my bills, about my mail, about the school registration, about the fact my son was inside. Officer Ramirez nodded slowly. "Do you have identification with this address?" "Yes," I said, pulling my wallet out. "My driver's license." He checked it. Then he looked at Caleb. "Sir," he said, "changing the locks on a primary residence without a court order can be unlawful. Regardless of deed claims, eviction is a process." Caleb's jaw tensed. "She's not a tenant. She's a guest who overstayed." Officer Ramirez didn't react to the insult. Do you have a court order granting you exclusive possession of the property and authorizing lockout? Caleb opened his mouth, closed it. Marilyn jumped in. We have a deed. Officer Ramirez turned to her. Ma'am, a deed dispute doesn't override unlawful lockout. This is not how you do it. A muscle twitched in Caleb's cheek. Officer Ramirez continued, At minimum, I need you to let her retrieve essential items tonight. Medication, documents, clothing. Caleb's voice went hard. No. And that one word snapped something in the air. Officer Ramirez stared at him for a long beat. Then he said quietly, Sir, if you refuse, you're escalating. I'm advising you to cooperate. Caleb's eyes darted to the neighbors' windows. Curtains had shifted. Porch lights were turning on. The street was watching. Caleb swallowed his pride and finally moved his body aside. Just enough to let the officer see inside. Officer Ramirez stepped over the threshold, scanning. I started forward instinctively. Marilyn shoved her arm out to block me, nails digging into my sleeve. Not you, she hissed. You're not stepping into this house. Officer Ramirez looked back. Ma'am, he said to Marilyn, don't touch her. Marilyn's arm snapped back like she'd been burned. My hands were shaking again, but this time it wasn't weakness. It was adrenaline, because I could see my couch, my rug, my son's shoes by the stairs, my life, inside a house that suddenly felt like enemy territory. Officer Ramirez took a slow walk through the entry, then returned. There's a child inside? He asked. Caleb nodded. My son. Officer Ramirez's voice stayed neutral. Is he safe? Is he aware of what's happening? Caleb's mouth tightened. He's fine. Officer Ramirez turned to me. Ma'am, custody order? I nodded. It's his week, but I wasn't notified of any change of residence, and I'm concerned about what my son is hearing. Officer Ramirez nodded once, like he understood the deeper wound. Then he said, All right. Here's what's going to happen tonight. You're going to let Ms. Hayes enter to collect essentials. If you refuse, I'll document this incident and advise her to seek an emergency order. And sir, if there's forgery involved, that's criminal. At that, Caleb's confidence cracked, just a hair. Marilyn's eyes sharpened with panic, and I knew they didn't expect the word criminal to touch their little plan. Caleb took a breath and nodded stiffly. Fine, he said. 10 minutes? 30, Officer Ramirez corrected. Caleb stared. Officer Ramirez's voice stayed calm, but it wasn't negotiable. 30, and you stay out of her way. Caleb's fists clenched. Whatever. Officer Ramirez looked at me. Go in, get what you need, keep it focused. We'll stay nearby. I stepped forward. The threshold felt like a line of fire. And as I crossed it, the smell hit me. My vanilla candle, mixed with something else. A cologne I didn't recognize. A stranger's scent in my home. My stomach turned. Ethan appeared at the bottom of the stairs, holding a stuffed dinosaur tight against his chest. His eyes were wide, confused. My heart shattered. I forced a smile so gentle it hurt. Hey, baby, I said softly. I'm okay. You're okay. He ran to me fast, and I dropped to my knees to catch him, hugging him so tightly I felt his breath hiccup. I thought you got lost, he whispered into my shoulder. No, I whispered back. I'm right here. I'm right here. Behind me, Caleb's voice cut in, cold. Ethan, upstairs, now. Ethan flinched. I pulled back just enough to look at my son's face. Go on, I said softly, keeping my voice warm. I'll see you in a bit, okay? He nodded, swallowing hard, and hurried up the stairs. I watched him go, and in my chest, something hardened. Because they weren't just stealing a house. They were teaching my son that doors could close on his mother. That was unforgivable. I stood. Caleb watched me like he expected me to collapse. Marilyn hovered like a vulture, ready to swoop if I picked up the wrong item. And I did exactly what they thought I'd do. I went to the hallway closet and grabbed my coat. Then I went to the kitchen and grabbed my purse that I'd left by the coffee maker that morning. Then I opened the drawer by the fridge, and I froze. Because the folder wasn't there. The blue folder. The one that held my divorce papers, my mortgage statements, my tax returns, my son's birth certificate. My lungs stopped working. I turned slowly. Caleb's eyes gleamed. "Looking for something?" he asked. My voice came out low. "Where is it?" He tilted his head. "Maybe you should have taken your stuff when you had the chance." Marilyn smiled. "You've been sloppy, Nora, always leaving things around." My hands shook so badly I had to grip the counter, because now I understood. This wasn't just a lockout. This was evidence removal. This was calculated. This was war. I lifted my chin and met Caleb's eyes. "I want my documents," I said. Caleb stepped closer, voice dropping. "You want a lot of things. Doesn't mean you get them." Officer Ramirez's voice came from the doorway, firm. "Sir, don't interfere." Caleb took a step back, but his eyes stayed locked on mine. And then he said the quiet sentence that told me everything. "You're not smart enough to fight me," he murmured. I stared at him, and in my mind, a memory flashed. Caleb sitting at our kitchen table years ago, telling me I was too emotional to understand finances. Caleb telling me he'd handle the paperwork. Caleb telling me to trust him. I had trusted him, and he used it like a blade. I took a slow breath. Then I did something I'd never done in our entire marriage. I smiled. Not pretty, not sweet, just certain. 30 minutes, I said, loud enough for the officer to hear. Right? Officer Ramirez nodded. That's correct. I picked up my purse, my coat, and my son's favorite blanket from the couch. Then I turned and walked toward the front door, slow, controlled. Marilyn's eyebrows lifted, surprised I wasn't screaming. Caleb's eyes narrowed, suspicious. I stepped onto the porch again, the cold air slapping my face like a wake-up call. And as I passed Officer Ramirez, I said quietly, "Officer, I need the incident report number, and I need you to note that they removed my legal documents." Officer Ramirez's gaze sharpened. "You believe they took them?" "I know they did," I said. He nodded slowly. "I'll document that." Caleb heard. His face tightened. And right then, right there, I decided something. I wasn't going to beg for my own life back. I was going to take it. I walked down the steps, sat in my car, and with hands that finally stopped shaking, I scrolled to a contact I'd saved months ago, but hoped I'd never need. A woman named Tessa Langford, attorney. Not a friend, not a therapist, not a maybe, a weapon. I hit call. She answered on the second ring. "Nora?" My voice came out steady, like steel wrapped in velvet. "Tessa," I said. "They changed the locks while I was at work, and they're holding a deed with my forged signature." There was a pause. Then Tessa's voice went sharp. "Are you safe?" "I'm outside," I said. "Police are here. My son is inside." Another pause. And then she said the words that made my pulse shift from panic to purpose. "Good," she said. "Because if they forged a deed, this just became a criminal case. And I want you to do exactly what I say next." I stared at my front door, at the house that had turned into a battlefield, and I whispered, "Okay." Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared of Caleb anymore. I was ready. And they had no idea what they'd just triggered. Tessa's voice stayed calm, but it had that razor under silk sound that made people in court sit up straighter. "Listen," she said, "do not try to force entry again tonight. Let the police document it. Tomorrow morning, we file for an emergency order, exclusive use of the residence, retrieval of property, and a temporary restraining order if needed." I swallowed. "They have my documents." "I heard you," she said. "That's good for us. It shows intent. Now, do you have any proof you've been paying the mortgage?" "Yes," I said. "Bank statements, auto drafts, email confirmations." "Good," she said. "And do you have a copy of the divorce decree?" My stomach clenched. It was in the folder. There was a brief silence. Then Tessa said, "Okay, not fatal. Court records exist. We can pull it. What I need you to do right now is start making a timeline in your notes. Exact times. What was said? Who touched you? Who threatened you? Officer name? Badge number? Everything." I glanced at Officer Ramirez standing near his car, writing on a clipboard, posture relaxed but alert. "Officer Ramirez," I said. "I'll get badge number." "Good," Tessa said. "Also, did you ever sign anything after the divorce? Any refinance paperwork? Anything Caleb brought you?" My throat tightened. "Yes," I admitted. "A stack, months ago. He said it was about school enrollment and some insurance stuff." Tessa exhaled slowly. "Okay, that may be what they're using. If he tricked you into signing a deed transfer, that's fraud. If he forged it outright, that's worse. Either way, it's not going to hold up if we move fast." I stared at my porch, where Marilyn stood just inside the door now, watching me like she was guarding a prize. "Move fast," I echoed. "We will," Tessa said, "but you have to stay smart. Caleb will try to bait you. He wants you to explode. He wants you to look unstable." My jaw tightened. He already told the officer I'm emotional. Tessa's voice turned colder. "Of course he did. That's his script. We're going to rewrite it." She paused, then added, "Where are you sleeping tonight?" My throat tightened at the question, because it made the lockout feel real in a new way. I can go to my sister's," I said. 15 minutes away." "Do that," Tessa said. "Take a breath, get your notes down, and tomorrow we go to war." Quietly. I ended the call and sat there for a moment, staring at my hands on the steering wheel. They looked normal, but nothing was normal. I typed in my notes, 7:12 p.m. Key won't work. 7:14. Marilyn states house isn't mine. 7:16. Caleb shows deed. 7:19. Ethan heard laughing inside. 7:23. Officer arrives. 7:31. Documents missing. 7:40. Tessa called. I forced myself to keep writing until my brain had something to grip besides fear. Officer Ramirez approached my car window, posture professional. "Ma'am," he said, "we're going to clear out soon. Your ex-husband agreed to let you retrieve essentials, and you did, but he's refusing re-entry tonight." I nodded. "I understand." He leaned slightly closer, voice lower. "Between us, this smells wrong. If you believe forgery happened, get an attorney fast." "I did," I said. "She's ready." He nodded once, approving. "Good. Here's the incident number." I copied it into my notes. Then I asked, "Can you check on my son? Just make sure he's okay?" He looked scared. Officer Ramirez's expression softened. "I'll knock and ask to speak to him." A few minutes later, Ramirez returned, face unreadable but focused. I spoke to the child, he said. He's okay, but he's confused. He said he heard shouting. He said his grandmother told him you were making trouble. My stomach twisted. I closed my eyes for a second. They're poisoning him, I whispered. Officer Ramirez's voice stayed neutral, but there was a current underneath. Keep your communications documented. Use the parenting app if your order requires it. And if you feel the child is being emotionally manipulated, bring it up in family court. I nodded, swallowing hard. I drove to my sister's house with my hands still shaking on the wheel, but the closer I got, the clearer my mind became, because fear was a fog, and clarity was a weapon. My sister Jenna opened her door in sweatpants and a messy bun, face instantly alarmed when she saw me. "Nora," she breathed. "What happened?" I walked inside and the warmth hit me, the smell of laundry, candle wax, normal life, and my eyes burned. "They changed the locks," I said. Jenna's mouth fell open. "Who?" "Caleb," I said, "and Marilyn." Jenna's face went hard. "I'm calling?" "No," I said quickly. "Not yet. I need one night to think. And tomorrow, I need you to watch me not fall apart." Jenna pulled me into a hug so tight my ribs ached. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, I've got you." That night I didn't really sleep. I lay on Jenna's couch, staring at the ceiling, listening to the heater click on and off, replaying Marilyn's smile, Caleb's calm cruelty, Ethan's wide eyes. At 2:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Caleb. He never texted unless he wanted control. "Caleb, you need to stop making a scene." Ethan was crying. "This is on you." My hand trembled around the phone. My first instinct was to type back something sharp, something furious, something that would pour all my pain into his lap. But Tessa's words echoed. "He wants you to explode." I took a slow breath, and instead, I screenshot the message, saved it. Then I opened the parenting app. "Our family bridge, the one the court ordered." I typed calmly. "Nora, I'm communicating here as required. I attempted to enter my legal residence at 7:12 p.m. and discovered the locks had been changed. Police responded. Please confirm where my son's personal belongings and legal documents, birth certificate, custody papers, tax records, are located, and confirm the address where Ethan is currently sleeping." I hit send. I stared at the screen until it delivered. Then I turned off my phone and let the silence settle. In the morning, Jenna made coffee like it was armor. We drove to Tessa's office downtown, the sky still gray with winter rain. Tessa Langford looked exactly how I'd imagined the first time I met her. Mid-30s, sharp haircut, tailored blazer, eyes that missed nothing. She greeted me with a handshake that felt like a promise. "Sit," she said. I sat. Tessa opened a file. "I pulled your divorce docket first thing. Here's what the decree says about the house." My breath caught as she slid a copy across the desk. It was clear. So clear it made my hands shake again. Exclusive occupancy to Nora Hayes until the property is refinanced or sold. Caleb Shaw to cooperate in transfer of mortgage obligation. Neither party may remove the other without court order. Tessa tapped the page with her pen. "This is your leverage. Now, Caleb showed you a deed with your signature?" "Yes," I said. "On his phone." "Okay," she said. "We're going to request a copy from the county recorder today. If something was filed, it's public record. We'll see exactly what he did." My stomach clenched. What if it looks real? Tessa's expression didn't change. Then we attack it with evidence, not feelings. She slid another page toward me. A checklist. 1. Emergency motion for exclusive use and immediate access. 2. Order to show cause for contempt. 3. Request for law enforcement civil standby for property retrieval. 4. Referral to prosecutor for suspected forgery. 5. Temporary orders regarding child's exposure to conflict and interference. My throat tightened. This is a lot, I whispered. Tessa leaned in. Nora, this is what Caleb doesn't understand. People like him think court is a stage. They perform. They manipulate. They talk. But paper doesn't care about charm. She held my gaze. And judges hate games. I swallowed. What do you need from me? Tessa nodded toward my phone. Your messages, your bank statements, utility bills, anything with this address, photos of you in the house, your son's school record listing your address. I want a mountain. I nodded. I can get it. Tessa's voice softened by half a notch. And I need you to be ready for Caleb to escalate. When men like him lose control, they don't get quiet. They get creative. My skin prickled. Creative how? Jenna asked. Tessa's eyes flicked to her. He may claim she abandoned the home. He may claim domestic violence. He may claim she's unstable. He may hide assets. He may drain accounts. My stomach dropped. Accounts? Tessa turned to me. Do you still share anything financial? No, I said quickly. I separated everything after the divorce. I learned. Tessa nodded, satisfied. Good. Then his angle will be reputation, motherhood, stability. She pointed her pen at me. So you will not scream. You will not show up alone. You will not meet him in a parking lot to talk. You will communicate in writing, and only in writing. I nodded, forcing myself to absorb it like medicine. Then Tessa's assistant entered and handed her a printout. Tessa scanned it, and something in her face sharpened. Okay, she said quietly. We have a problem, and an opportunity. My heart pounded. What? Tessa turned the paper toward me. County recorder. Document details. Quitclaim deed. Grantor. Nora Hayes. Grantee. Caleb Shaw. Recording date. 9 days ago. My vision narrowed. 9 days, I whispered. I was working overtime. Tessa's eyes stayed steady. Nora, you didn't sign this 9 days ago. My hands shook as I read the lines. There it was. My name. My signature. My home handed away like a gift. The room tilted again, but this time I didn't fall. I gripped the edge of the desk and forced my voice out. He filed it, I said. He filed it while I was living there. Tessa nodded. Yes. Jenna's face went white. How can he do that? Tessa's voice turned hard. He can file anything. That doesn't make it valid. Now, here's the opportunity. She leaned in, lower voice. Quitclaimed deeds are easy to record. That's why scammers love them. But the moment we prove forgery, it becomes criminal, and the recorder can flag it. Also, if he used a notary improperly, the notary can lose their license, and they will talk. I stared at her. Notary? Tessa tapped the document details. There's a notary listed. Name and commission number. We're going to subpoena them. My breath came in sharp. What if the notary lies? Tessa's smile was small. Notaries don't like prison. They like their licenses. They like their houses. They like their freedom. She slid the paper back toward herself. Here's what we do, she said. We file emergency motions today. We request a hearing within 48 hours, and we show the judge that Caleb didn't just violate the divorce order, he attempted to steal real property. My throat tightened. And, she added, eyes narrowing slightly, we also file a report with the prosecutor's office today. Forgery, fraud, unlawful lockout, possible custodial interference if he uses the child to pressure you. My pulse hammered. Will they actually do anything? Tessa looked at me like I'd asked if fire was hot. Not always, she said, but they will when the evidence is clean. That's why you're going to help me make it clean. She stood and walked to a window, then turned back. Now, she said, I need to know something, Nora. I held my breath. Tessa's voice dropped. Did you ever suspect Caleb had help inside the system? A friend at the recorder's office? A notary who owes him? Anyone? I thought of the strange jacket in my hallway. The cologne that wasn't Caleb's. The football game voices. My stomach tightened. There was someone else, I whispered. A man. I saw a jacket. I heard men inside, but I didn't see his face. Tessa's eyes sharpened. Good. That means we're not dealing with desperation. We're dealing with a plan. Jenna's voice shook. What kind of plan? Tessa looked straight at me. The kind, she said, that collapses when you shine a light on it. For the first time since my key failed in the lock, I felt some flicker in my chest that wasn't fear. Hope.